Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. Under La Republic du Cameroon's oil exploitation for about the last 40 years has hardly helped promote progress or prosperity in places like Indian County. Not even a tiny elite in the county has benefited from the oil that has been rigged there since the 1960s by colonial La Republic du Cameroon and France. Elites from Indian County has sent a letter out to the repressive regime, airing out their hearts as it concerns their natural resources, hoping the proceeds be shared fairly between two parties, La Republic du Cameroon and Ambazonia. Part of the reasons La Republic du Cameroon refuses to let Ambazonia go is the Indian oil. Would they now all of a sudden come to this term? Meanwhile, the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, PCC, on a negative note, is in the news again, this time in the colonial economic capital of La Republic du Cameroon. The routine political landscape of La Republic du Cameroon is gradually and surely penetrating the church circle. Christians of a Presbyterian church are divided to the point of fighting in church whether their pastor should stay or go. The church, which is supposed to be a solution center, is rather fast transforming into a battleground. Has personal gains become the motivation for church leaders of the PCC? These and many more we'll find out on Undaunted tonight, but that will be just after the prime headlines.
Alright, these are the prime headlines for today. Colonial Governor of Far North Region of La Republic du Cameroon promises sanctions for civil servants fleeing. Alright, Indian elites in frustration air their heart out to La Republic du Cameroon's head of state, Paul Biya. Also today, PCC pastor hospitalized after a fight in church. Traditional ruler of Boise village, Eweme John Echo, says Baba Dampolo is after his life. Also today, a girl child has been saved from the hands of a rapist by farmers in Boya. I'm sure you want to listen to and watch that story. In football, Son Heung-min, Tottenham and South Korea forward a doubt for World Cup.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with undaunted ABC Amba News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution and Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
ABC Amba TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amba TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know. You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambatv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
The administrative system of La République du Cameroon has created haters of the regime in all the different areas of the country. The disgruntled Cameroonese only lacks the courage and determination of southern Cameroonians to outrightly say no to Paul Biya's regime. Though there is internal threat from hungry and unsecured Cameroonese, there is equally the threat of Islam. Unfortunately, the colonial military of La République du Cameroon and the far north region are unable to protect the people and their properties that way. The colonial government, on her part, is not honest to her citizens and Ambazonians in that area to tell them not to depend totally on government protection. For fear of their lives, most civil servants, Ambazonians, and Cameroonese have abandoned their duty posts to safer region, as is always the case with every colonial administrator of La République du Cameroon. Instead of stepping up to the security securing persons and property, the colonial governor is rather dishing out threats to these workers to come back or be sanctioned. What will a family benefit seeing one of theirs killed just because he must work? Is the colonial La Republic of Cameroon government, do they have the interests of these workers at heart? Good evening, fellow Ambazonians. This is where we will begin the full briefings of on Georgia tonight. I am Oni of Balance. Just Smart is here as always. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Onyi. Good evening, fellow Ambazonians. The colonial governor of the far north region of La Republic of Cameroon, Mijiyawa Bakari, has ordered his subordinate of the Mayo Sava division to warn civil servants fleeing insecurity in the locality. That was the object of a letter addressed to the colonial DO of Mayo Sava division on October 25th. The far north region is counted as a conflict zone, which has caused many to escape, including Ambazonian civil servants. It is in this line that Mijiyawa Bakari wrote to the DO of the Mayo Sava division on October 25, 2022, to sound the disciplinary alarm. The governor's letter refers to the non-residents of public service officials in Kolofata, the main town in the Mayo Sava subdivision. This is because a good number of officials of public and parapublic services appointed to Kolofata do not reside there. Some of them only go there for short periods, while others spend long periods outside their place of residence as a matter of principle, coupled with that zone is unsecured. This is what the administrative authority said. In view of the worrying situation, Mijiyawa Bakari is threatening to impose disciplinary sanctions. Those concerned have 1 week from October 25th to return to their respective posts in Kolofata there. If not, they will be replaced numerically, said the colonial governor, without, however, mentioning the reason that pushed these officials to desert their posts in this locality. In this regard, it is recalled that the Islamist sect Boko Haram multiplies deadly incursions in this area near Nigeria. Several attacks have been perpetrated there since 2014. As a reminder, on 2nd June 2017, a double attack killed 11 people in Kolofata. Following these multiple attacks, civil servants have fled to save their lives.
In this movement, 70 schools, including 20 of the 30 in the department of Mayo Sava, closed in 2014 for lack of teachers, according to the UN. The Colonial Ministry of Basic Education told the United Nations that in the same year, 200 teachers did not take up their posts in these crisis areas because of the insecurity. Many are seeking to be transferred. Although the security situation is not comparable to that of 2014 today, incursions have diminished, but the threat remains and fear remains amongst the population. Now, under La Republique du Cameroon, oil exploitation for about the last 40 years has hardly helped promote progress or prosperity in places like Indian County. Not even a tiny elite in the county has benefited from the oil that has been rigged there since the 1960s by colonial La Republique du Cameroon and France. Worried with such high-handedness, Indian indigenes represented by an elite group of traditional rulers, mayors, religious leaders, and MPs met with members of the La Republique du Cameroon National Hydrocarbons Corporation (SNH) and Total and ADAX that had been exploring oil in the Rio de Rey Basin in which Indian County.
Now, this meeting, which was equally attended by the colonial Minister of Indian, the locals and the oil companies, was aimed at working out strategies and finding a system and form a partnership in which wealth derived from the oil is better shared. Not broadly within the population, but with future generations to alleviate poverty and misery in Indian County, since it has deposits of crude oil contributing up to 75% total oil production in the entire country. In the course of that meeting, the Indian elite expressed dismay at over 40 years of oil exploitation without any benefits accruing to the county. They recalled the devastating impact of extreme poverty, lack of roads, schools, and health facilities, and the general misery amidst abundant resources. The meeting did not go on smoothly as an overwhelming feeling of discontent and frustration enveloped the elite, who complained that the meeting was not participatory, that it was more of a lecture by experts of Total and SNH with fixed ideas to impose on the people so as to continue exploiting them. Frustrated, the Indian elite wrote to La République du Cameroon's head of state, Paul Biya, saying thus, Your Excellency, ours has been one long and sad story of manipulation, imposition, and frustration, orchestrated by self-styled champions of the cause of Indian County, whose only claim to knowledge of the county is the fact that it is no man's land, auspiciously exposed to the whims and caprices of freebooters who pass for honorable government functionaries. Now, further listed a number of other grievances, the elite, to include molestation by La République du Cameroon's national security forces, government's failure to honor its promise of linking Isangele to Mundemba by road, the poverty-stricken council in Indian County, amongst other things.
Despite the fact that most of the country's crude oil comes from the rich Bakassi zone in Indian County, the Kura project has not had any significant impact on the county except preventing the natives from exploiting their natural resources and the alarming deceit on the part of La République du Cameroon colonial government despite many promises. The letter expresses their disdain demonstrated by the government for the Indian people, saying the people feel cheated even in areas where the sons and daughters of Indian could be considered for employment in the oil company, not SNH or even just the SCDP. It exhorts the president to look more deeply into the marginalization of the Indian people. Still in their frustration, the elite addressed another missive to Adax Oil Company. All these weeping and wailing seemed to fall on deaf.
Now, comments gotten from the Indian Forum from some concerned denizens of the county. One of them says, you need to mobilize for the eventual liberation of Ambazonian Republic. Extend soon the broom of demand to this discretion. La République du Cameroon is a judgment debtor and a territorial thief who encroaches on Ambazonians' land and has been pillaging and removing her resources to the metropole. Move relentlessly, comrades. Nobody would do it for you. A hoo-ha may be inevitable if the colonial boys keep being obstreperous. Iron hands will be used to remove them if that is what it will take. Right versus might, to be continued.
And as I am personally happy with the action of the elite, it is better late than never. We are tired of the double standards. Says when it comes to other issues like timber, the local population benefit, but why not all? The La République du Cameroon government does everything to let us know that we do not belong. While he says false in capitals, our cup of patience is already running over.
Now, it goes on with another concerned denizen of Indian saying, let's set the record straight and tell this forum the truth. Wali Penja was given strokes of the cane by the colonial leader Amadou Ahidjo in Yaoundé when he asked for a share for his people. He was carried by a helicopter from his office to the presidency in Yaoundé. He was asked by Ahidjo, who spoke in pidgin, then borne you with oil.
He left the presidency in tears and was full with sweat as someone that has been poured by rain. He was told to return, and if he dare speak about oil again, he will be killed. He returned and never spoke about oil revenues and royalties to his people again. Ma Mary, that's Indian County. Why are Indian people complaining when it comes to elections? We vote for CPDM. If Mbili, who was opportuned to fix Indian and did not do anything, then who do you think will change Indian County? All from Sonora is from Indian, but how many sons and daughters from Indian are working in Sonora? It's a pity for the Indian man.
Now, moving on with more comments from concerned denizens. One of them said, I read it and wept, but I keep thinking and pondering on one question with thoroughness. When are these Frenchies going to quit? They have come again to siphon from the new oil wells. Are we the ones consuming your champagnes? Are we the reasons for mass unemployment in France? Leave us alone, you and your cohort, La République du Cameroon. There are rumors that oil left in the old wells are bitumen and some small amount of grease. Wouldn't they even use this bitumen to tar our roads? Why do they just wish us misery all the time? Southern Cameroon's Amazonia, there is one thing we all really lack: balls. We don't really got balls. Let's wake up from our slumber and do the Wali Penja thing on La République du Cameroon rather. This is what the
Well, still going on with the comments, another said his comment with a laugh continued. When our President Honorable Mbile Inangia was asked this question about oil royalties of the Indian people in the CRTV club during a debate with Honorable Paulinus Joa, he waved it aside as if it's a point of no concern. So the matter is now pregnant. Hope birth is not given to a premature baby, and then elites just continue as you've started. But I'm afraid the struggle may die a natural death, as some of you are already noting for your or being noted for your usual sellout attitude. And also the fact that La Republique will do all it can to stifle this struggle, since they consider struggles like these by Southern Cameroonians as subversive rather than elites. But ours is the total liberation of Southern Cameroon's Amazonia from La Republique du Cameroon chains. He ends this particular conversation with "Stay blessed."
Now, going on with this comment as regards growing concerns on Indian's oil, Washoe, New Zealand says the Indian people are like a curse to themselves. They have been recognized as the most passive group in the entire West Cameroon. Their leaders are very selfish. They get satisfied just with some bottles of beer, a few green notes from Ngute, who tells them that the president is recently considering to tar the roads. That's just all he needs to say. Then they will say, tell him that we love him and support him forever. They take a lot of time to draft motions of support, send to CRTV Boya, then they are able to receive some more bottles of wine and hot drinks. They get together again, doing most of the move on foot or Okada, since the roads are permanently a death trap. They have been behaving like dogs since colonial dictator Biya took over in Yaoundé. It's the best of a paradox that I have ever witnessed. They are almost in permanent darkness. The roads look like Hiroshima and Nagasaki after the Second World War. If they have realized now that better living does not lie in liquor and green notes, then that can be fine, but need to do more than their best. Now, another comment says the Indian county is the worst in terms of roads and other infrastructure, though they are suffering these mishaps. But the La Republique du Cameroon has done nothing to revamp them from this malice. I believe the struggle must start from within, else we are fighting a groundless war against La Republique du Cameroon. A lot of Amazonians would agree with this.
Yeah, I absolutely think so too. Now, this one is from Fritz Zane Kiki, Hong Kong. He says, Indian people take the example of the Delta River fighters of Nigeria. Liberty and freedom has never been awarded free of charge in any human history. Indian people must stand up as one man and fight for their rights. 40 years is not 40 days, not even 40 weeks, not even 40 months. This is somebody's lifetime on earth. It's a shame that the people, both educated and illiterate alike, would fold their arms between their legs and sleep on their right, while the right to a better share of the natural resources lying beneath their legs in their soil is being violated for 40 good years. When it comes to drinking a few bottles of wine and collecting 5,000 francs and selling their voting rights, they are champions. To sit down and draft motions for support, they are champions. But to stand up and fight for their rights, nobody is present. They want to eat today and say the rest can die, forgetting that tomorrow is another day. Now ask yourself, how on earth can the taxes on oil generated in southern Cameroon's Amazonia be paid in French Cameroon? Even so, go to Douala. There is no road. Soon the bridge will fall off. I personally think the greatest errors of all times ever committed was the reunification raw deal concocted by the UN with the influence of France. Now, these are the thoughts, as you have heard, growing amongst concerned denizens and people in the diaspora.
Now, a lot of which has been running through our minds as well. And this was gotten courtesy from Azore Opio commentaries from the Indian Forum.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Now, on our next story, the same La Republic du Cameroon, who has been feeding off of Ambazonians' resources and not caring about the plight of the suffering people, has cooked up another big distraction, saying it is setting up a fund to rebuild economically destroyed areas.
Now, while the Yaoundé junta announced the monarch's reconstruction plan, many rightful thinking Ambazonians wondered aloud if the moribund La Republic du Cameroon government was equally counting on miracles to release its project. For how could any meaningful system, if not a mafia, introduce a very lofty project in the heart of a raging war without a ceasefire? How could La Republic du Cameroon, a country on its knees economically, a failed state recognized by the World Bank, the IMF, dream so big in the midst of a senseless war that has claimed over 40,000 lives and counting?
Like La Republic du Cameroon's failed reconstruction plan, which was dead on arrival, and its current one being cooked, special allocation account to rebuild areas identified as economically distressed. ABC Amba TV Undaunted can only classify both distractions on the La Republic du Cameroon's fooling all the people all the time platforms since 1961. The cabinet meetings La Republic du Cameroon pages hold every last Thursday of the month are a mere routine gathering since the monarch, in advance of depreciation health-wise, has never been holding ministerial councils because of this interregnum. The ministers distract public opinion from time to time in the name of cabinet meetings whose outcomes are not binding.
The fooling all the people of Ambazonians all the time this last Thursday, October 27th, 2022, is common on the heels of Paul Biya, the La Republic du Cameroon monarch and genociders 40 years in power. Ambazonians must wise up that on taking power on November 6, 1982, Biya's first outing was in Bamenda in April 1983, where he lied loud and clear that he was to supervise the ring road. Today, 40 years after, where is Ring Road, Bamenda, Kumbo, Nkambe, Womb? Bamenda has remained a nightmare 40 years after, and when one adds 40 years to Ahijo's 21 years arithmetically, Ambazonians have been fooled for 61 years. What we have to say, enough is enough. Any bona fide Ambazonia who thinks that La Republic du Cameroon can do anything visible, concrete today in the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia should consult any psychiatric clinic. Because if its fragility inflicted by the Ambazonian Liberation War since 6 years and counting, La Republic du Cameroon and its corrupt character has been unable to construct a 200 kilometers road linking Yaoundé to Douala.
Now, the Yaoundé junta has taken 10 years, achieving only 68 meters, squandering over 400 billion francs CFA, sponsored by the World Bank. With such track record, any Ambazonia counting on La Republic du Cameroon for anything is doing so at his or her own risk. Any bona fide Ambazonia is not a stranger to the plight of young fighters La Republic du Cameroon duped to drop their arms and enter the disarmament centers. The fooling all the people all the time junta has promised these people, these children, gold and silver, bread and butter. 3 years after, we see how these self-imprisoned youths are languishing and gnashing their teeth in the detention camps. Trust La Republic du Cameroon at your own risk.
La Republic is a country on drips because of the Ambazonian Liberation War. Its 2022 budget stood at the sum of 500.752.4 billion francs CFA. The execution of the 2022 budget, which is in any normal country, should have started in January. Instead, started in May 2022 and is expected to end by 30th November 2022. The 2023 budget has been increased to over 6,000 francs CFA, 6,000 billion francs CFA, in the hope that the current increase in prices of crude oil on the world market will provide some windfall revenue for Cameroon from the exploitation of crude oil by companies carrying offshore oil exploitation in Ambazonia oil fields located in the Atlantic coast of the Gulf of Guinea. Undaunted noted that La Republic du Cameroon recorded a government budget deficit equal to 3.10% of the country's gross domestic product in 2021. So the indicators are clear. No Ambazonia, no La Republic du Cameroon.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories. Our best. We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories. Because
The people of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, deprived of good roads, industries, and sporting infrastructures by the colonial government of La Republique du Cameroon, are endowed with very fertile soils. Now, if it was possible for dictator Paul Biya of La Republique du Cameroon to carry these soils of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia away, he wouldn't hesitate. But thank God it is a gift from God, the fertile land of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia.
Southern Cameroons can be transformed only with income generated from the farms. The major hindrance to an agricultural revolution in Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia is just bad roads. La Republique du Cameroon, in an attempt to cripple the agriculture industry in Southern Cameroons, have denied the construction of farm to markets. Is the refusal by La Republique du Cameroon to construct farms to market roads not an attempt to frustrate the agricultural stamina of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia?
Now, there is an indicator for a better developed southern Cameroon's Ambazonia tomorrow. This thanks to her fertile soil. The soil of southern Cameroon produces all types of crops, plants, staples, and fruits. The fertile segregates on what must be cultivated. Different crops do well in different zones in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. The Republic of Ambazonia is the breadbasket of neighboring La Republique du Cameroon and countries of the Central Africa sub-region. The northern zones and southern zones of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia are rich in the production of a variety of crops, fruits, and vegetables. Now, the farm produce is to the different markets in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia and out to neighboring La Republique du Cameroon, Gabon, Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Central Africa, Chad, and Nigeria.
Traders load these stuffs in well-adapted trucks off to different countries. Southern Cameroon in Africa is the likes of Sweden in Europe. Food markets in neighboring La Republique du Cameroon will be the dry if Southern Cameroon stops supplying them. A major speed break to the growth to agriculture. The lone surviving industry in Southern Cameroon is the lack of farm to the market roads. The colonial government of La Republique du Cameroon have abandoned the management and construction of the farm to market roads. Farmers find it difficult taking farm inputs to their farms as well as transporting the harvest from the farms.
Sad, the ongoing conflict in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia has scared most of the foreign buyers from coming into Ambazonia as a result of insecurity, given that they have to pass through La Republique du Cameroon, except for Nigerian buyers. Now, with the inauguration today of the food bridge over the cross river linking Nigeria with southern Cameroons today, November 3rd, 2022. It will be perfect for agricultural produce from southern Cameroon's Amazonia. And here we have a video of proof of the fertility of Amazonian soils.
Bangap never tumbing man a charinen and a zoni. Ye ni near to ngam November. And they may any may ingamg. Yes, rejigitene mangamg. For cab, Bamenga Sieni. I zoom or kumwin berker a cambe. Berachon woni kumna masachu renew any I'm a tumbing. Zumbo bichi tono no magana I'm a tumbing I'm bichina umba jurasingana a tumbing a younger and any ana zenang zenbe yazu signigan ananjiana kayet woku in any chirang and a reject bridjokuna. Bomenikang ning. Zumbo be you many zoom or two one on a cow. Shout two one on gap. In Madame Joe from Bango, you make your born in your cover. As a pajo, very you must all make it in Gapter Urso. Wonderful. Miaka Weno, Bending. Wonderful. Bermbo, but Bakan chin be you make your bo. A Zumba Magani in a body, the fertilizer. But I mean, I should be my new magaza. Wonderful. When they see the two and I see chum. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Me a cover. I Madame the Chow Mazanio. But the ye barangamga. But the energy better by one bank, but the ye bar or the chino one bank. Miaka. Wonderful. I have a good war. But my also on you make your war. But if you can't acquire a matuam bing. Campaign in Bukonde, there's all kind of memo. A drawing where bag the tirasaw, the mita and bimbo. I am where bag, but this is the ja. Cover. Madame Django, alias Potter. Yaka Wenmo. Voila.
There is fire in the mountain in the camp of loyalists and beneficiaries of La Republic to Cameroon colonial government. The chief of Boissa village, a woman John Echo, who is also known as Moja, an element of the colonial bees, La Republic to Cameroon elite force says, El Haja Baba Amadou Dampolo is after his life. Moja, who has been given the mandate by the colonial ruler Paul Biya of La Republic to Cameroon to kill southern Cameroonians, dreads death today. Is it true that Bampolo is after his life?
Now, the traditional ruler of Boissa village, Ewume John Eko, also known as Moja, an element of the colonial BIR elite force, says El Haj Baba Amadou Dampolo is after his life. He made this revelation in a video that is making rounds on social media. And in the video, Chief Ewume accused El Haj Baba Amadou Dampolo of refusing to surrender a parcel of land in Tole, the outskirts of Boya. Moja reveals that after the dispute with the financial guru Baba Dampolo, some strange men came to attack him.
Moja cited that what happened to the chief of Isu that was murdered with that after their chief had disagreed with Baba Dampolo on a parcel of the village land. In the video, Moja says he has the video of the assassination of the late chief of Isu and that the same hired men who killed the chief of Isu are the same men that have been sent after his life. Alhaj Baba Amadou Dampolo is a billionaire that has had land dispute with the majority of chiefdoms in southern Cameroon. Land he wanted to by all means to extend his tea farms. The lion in Moja yesterday is today no longer a lion. In his last but one video he dropped, he was seen beating a young southern Cameroonian. The boy later died as a result of the. Now, in the video, Moja declares he is untouchable. Meanwhile, right about now, he seems to be saying something. Watch the video for yourself.
The fun of Isu and why. Greetings to everyone. Salut à tout le monde. I want to tell the whole world that the Isu people who came to my village, they are not Ambazonians. After my findings, guys, Alaji Dampolo who have problem in Isu land, and suddenly the fun of Isu and wife were killed brutally. They were slaughtered by unknown gunmen. And now finally, the chief of Boasa, Moja Moja, also have a problem with Alaji in a land around Tole Estate, sharing boundary with Boasa village. He was here this October, few days ago, where he cannot surrender land. And now the Isu guys are already invading my palace. So I want to believe they're by the same Alaji. Yes, so I'm calling on the government and the international community to see into it. I'll send video relating to how they killed the fawn of Isu and how comes drastically now the Isu people are ready. So not the Isu people, those who were paid maybe to kill the fawn of Isu are already coming to murder the chief of Boasa. But I want to tell them that it's not going to be easy with me. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I've handed them to the law officials and I want the law to take its course. Inshallah. Thanks.
As you can hear him, today he is calling on the colonial La Republic of Cameroon's government to come to his aid and protect him from assassins sent after his life. He is failing to understand that the La Republic of Cameroon is good at using and dumping their agent remorse. Now, moving on to another intricate story of tonight, the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon PCC, on a negative note, is in the news. This time around, it's the colonial economic capital of La Republique du Cameroon. The routine political landscape of La Republique du Cameroon is gradually and surely penetrating the church circle. Christians of a Presbyterian church in Cameroon are divided to the point of fighting in church whether their pastor should stay or go. The pastor is now as a result of the fight. The church, which is supposed to be a solution center, is rather fast transforming into a battleground, and has personal gains become the motivation for church leaders of the PCC, is what we've been wondering.
Now, a pastor of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon PCC, serving at the Bessa congregation in Douala 3, at the colonial economic capital of La Republique du Cameroon, Reverend Ndip Philip Ndonkong, is currently hospitalized for injuries sustained during a fight with Christians in his congregation on Sunday, October 30th, 2022. The fight right in God's house is reported to have been provoked by accumulated grievances against Reverend Ndip by a faction of the congregation, one of them being the announced fresh elections for the congregational chairperson. It is said that the elected chairman of the congregation resigned following continuous disagreement with the Reverend. With the announced fresh election for the post of a chairperson, factions of Christian loyal to the resigned saw it as a means to instead sideline their man and not a means to seek solutions to the numerous problems existing in the church. The above faction of the Christian then took upon themselves that day for a fresh election to be organized. The Reverend Pastor should be the one to leave the congregation.
Now, with this stand, faithfuls loyal to the Reverend equally mounted resistance that the Reverend is not going and the election must take place. It is in the midst of the verbal exchange between these two factions in the same congregation that a fight ensued. The Reverend Pastor, not willing to be neutral, his camp in the fight that ended with him sustaining wounds. He is presently at a hospital in Douala undergoing treatment. Some months back, it was still with the PCC in Kumba that Christians and pastors got up one morning to see the church gates sealed with fetish substances.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Now, due to the quest of fast cash and under the influence of drugs, rape and other abuses are on the rise, and parents need to be very vigilant in the upbringing of their offsprings. Now, amongst many evils happening in Ambazonia, it would have been reported today that an adult male raped a young girl if not for the timely intervention of farmers in Bokwango, Boya. Absolutely immoral and cruel. Was this person under the influence of drugs? Or was he just in an attempt to quench his untamed desires with a female child? I'd say whatever the case, there are no excuses to this.
An adult male today, November 3rd, 2022, has received the beating of his life in Bokwango village, Boya. The name of the guy at press time Undaunted was unable to get. Amongst strangled a girl child resisting being raped, if not for the timely intervention of farmers nearby. Now, before the arrival of the rescue team, this criminal was already strangling his victim by pressing her by the neck in an attempt to stop her from shouting. The population, not to exercise mob justice, decided to carry this guy to the traditional ruler of Bakwango village. The chief of Bakwango asked the population to flog the spirit of rape out of him that you just saw in the clips out there, but on condition that the beating should be concentrated on his buttocks. The buttocks, because according to the chief, is the area from where the strength of rape is obviously generated from. Now, here is a video of the population flogging the guy at the stipulated spot ordered by the chief. Now, as you can see in the video, the men are taking turns flogging this societal miscreant, hopefully to teach him the lesson of his life.
No. Give me.
All right, so I'm sure that the spirit of rape would have left him by now. All right, coming up next is the editorial, and Steph Smart has it for you.
Our editorial for tonight is from the repertoire of Comrade Don Wannabe, the Lord of the Realms. As gaming continues, you would see Comrade Don Wannabe observing and highlighting the footsteps of the oppressors very closely. In this article, he captions, "The game they play." When they want to declare victory, they claim everywhere is under their control, but when they're asked to develop the community, they give excuses of Amba fighters holding back their development plans. When it's time to stage and